Hello everyone and welcome to the pitskill.io Porsche Cup sponsored by SimQuips. I'm your host Roy Waller and tonight we are in Germany at the Nürburgring GP Circuit and we are just getting ready for the qualifying session to get underway in earnest as our drivers start their outlaps as Sergi Sebastian jumps ahead of Busso to get some clear space on track, and as they wind themselves up to start this first flying lap, we take a very quick glance at our championship standings as they are at the moment, with Rhys Tattersall still leading the way on 690 points. He is followed by Johan Leff, who should close that gap up significantly after tonight's race, and we start getting rid of some of those drop rounds from people's results. In third position is Robert Weidbeck, who is just ahead of Sam McCarthy and John Sawyer, with Samuel von Liebenstein and Matthew Perry exceptionally close together in 6th and 7th. And with the drop rounds coming into effect, as I mentioned, after this race, there is real potential for these standings to get shuffled up after this race. So something to stick around and watch the highlights after this race so we can update you on the leaderboard as it stands post round 8. But we will get back to our qualifying session as it is Sergi Sebastian who currently leads our pack around and will be the first driver to set a flying lap. Sergi climbs through the Michael Schumacher S and onto the third and final sector of this racetrack as the sun starts to set over the Nürburgring GP circuit. We head into the twilight. I would hope most of the drivers now with their headlights on. There's visibility going to be interesting as we head into this night race here at the Nürburgring. One of a few that we have got in this Porsche Cup series, and Sergi really wringing the neck of that car through the chicane. Gets on the throttle nice and early, just a little twitch as he hits the exit curb, potentially a little bit of pace to be gained there. As our first lap of the session is set, and it is a 1:57.4 for Sergi, followed closely behind by Sam McCarthy as Tadeusz Zunski in our much beloved Rexy liveried Porsche Cup car, setting a 1:58.7, with all these times being well off of what Sebastian has set so far. Although, actually, that I can ignore that statement as Venti van Thielen with a 1:56.9, some half a second faster than Sebastian on this first attempt around this circuit. We have got a Porsche Cup expert amongst our midst, it would seem like, as Rhys Tattersall can only manage a 1:57.1, although I think Van Thalen may not have read the rules here at Pitskill, trying to overtake during qualifying. Won't see him in the steward's good books. And who have we got left to complete a lap? Still quite a good proportion of the field, as Christian Fager, one of the home heroes, heading into the hairpin and through the second sector up towards the Michael Schumacher S. Currently on a valid lap, so we'll see what Christian can do. As I completely misidentified which part of the track he was on. That's the hairpin. Now he's coming towards the Michael Schumacher S. There we go, and climbs the hill, shoots out of the top, keeping it nice and tidy within track limits, as there's a bit of a jostling for position going on behind. As Fager runs wide and will have to go again. just under 9 minutes remaining of the session, so still plenty of time for Fago to find a valid lap in there somewhere. As at the top of the field, our championship leader, Reese Tattersall, finding some traffic up ahead, not improving on this lap and pulling aside towards the pit lane. I think just trying to find themselves a little bit of a gap and getting back out with some clean air, and we'll hope to improve on their 157.1. As a driver who's going strong at the moment, Matthew Parry, currently sitting third on the timing sheet and finding some improvements on this lap, and looks like they could be looking to challenge Reese Tattersall in this one. A strong performance from Parry as we head up towards the Michael Schumacher S. Taking all the curb necessary. There's Parry 2.8 tenths off of pole position at the moment, finding plenty of time on this lap. A good exit down onto the long straight, just the chicane and the final corner to go for Parry on this lap. So they throw it through the chicane right over the curbs, leaving absolutely nothing on the table, just the exit of the final corner to go. Managed to keep the car tidy, and this could be a challenger for pole position, and it is. A 156.910 beats Van Thuylen by 0.02 of a second, and that is enough to put Matthew Parry onto pole position for now, but it may be short-lived, as currently up on their time is Johan Leff. I say up on their time, they're still in the first sector at the moment, so not going to be following them all the way around, but we're already seeing plenty of time to be found as Reese Tattersall missed the end of that lap, but it is a 156.8 for Tattersall as he refuels and heads back out on track. We're getting a real battle for pole position here. As I did just find Chris Fry, but he jumped around the timing table there. That's right, P15 is our series sponsor, the runner of the SimQuips YouTube channel. Do check out that if you're looking for some not quite safe for work entertainment, or at least if you are watching it at work, do wear headphones. That's all I can suggest. As Chris climbs Schumacher S and just about keeps it within track limits, but I don't think that particular line is going to be especially fast, and I think Chris bleeding away a little bit of time through there. As Matthias Peltzer currently sitting in P21, going through the final chicane. Keeping the rear in check as he exits and comes out of the final corner to cross the start-finish line. Moves up to P14 with a 158.5. As we're going to check back in with Jentel Van Thuylen, who is lighting up my timing screen in front of me. Has got Johan Leff a company ahead, but Van Thuylen going quick and with the current pace that they've got, could be grasping pole position away from Rhys Tattersall. Needs to find 0.08 of a second, and looking like they've got more than that in hand. This is really an electric lap here from Van Thuylen. Oh, and a small mistake in the chicane. More risk than was maybe absolutely necessary given the pace they had in hand, and Van Thuylen's going to have to go again. There's Rhys Tattersall, who, yeah, agree chat, I am disappointed that Rhys is not running the livery he promised. Is it perhaps just a mistake of the system, or did he just select the wrong livery? We're gonna have to blame Terry for that one, unfortunately, because he did pick the Beans livery, but there's certainly no beans on this car. But Rhys, if you excuse the pun, giving it the beans, finding more pace, although actually looking like not finding all that much pace. It's very, very consistent, is Rhys. As he exits the final corner, will not be an improvement on this lap, but does still hold on to pole position for now. We'll check to see who else is on a quick lap. Imre Horvath. Finding a decent amount of time on this lap, as is his teammate, the very confusingly liveried Tom Young. It is often a challenge to tell these two apart, but it is Horvath who is further ahead on their lap, so we'll see as they come to round the final corner. He crosses the line and improves to P9. From outside the top 20 up to P9. It's a considerable leap there for Horvath. And I think perhaps going to be matched in severity by Young, as he comes to round the final corner now. Just needs to get the throttle application right. He comes out to the final corner to cross the line. Improves up to P11. And Van Thuylen going quick, but has invalidated their lap yet again. And definitely looking like they had the pace for pole position tonight, but couldn't keep it within the white lines on numerous attempts, and well, they will be ruining the missed opportunity, I can only imagine. As Mormont finding a late turn of speed, as Rhys Tattersall improves the benchmark to a 1:56.565, and I think that has put pole position out of reach for just about everyone. But Mormont are just skipping over the final chicane. Again, so easy to do, and we're seeing it time and time again, these drivers finding pace through most of the lap and then just throwing it away through the final chicane. As Cabrera comes to cross the line, improves up to P15 with that final lap. As we've got Loic and Shoot still with quite a lot of the lap left to run, but a considerable amount of pace in hand. And we're going to switch over to Horvath, who is just going to cross the line, improve in time, but not in position in the end, losing just a little bit too much time around the final corner. But it will be Anshu, who just the final corner to now. Let's go. Should expect a considerable jump in time if they just get this final corner right. They come over the start-finish line. It will be a decent improvement up to P28, and that is session over. And we will go to a short break, and we'll be back momentarily for tonight's race. And as our drivers get their cars set up on the grid, you can see just how many cars are being run here at this race tonight. Got a grid of 39 drivers ahead of us, and they're all going to be tearing down into turn 1 to get this race underway. Just a short formation lap ahead of us. I'll take the opportunity to go through our starting order as our drivers start their engines and turn on their lights for this nighttime race. As Riestadsel sits on pole position and drives us away. It is Riestadsel in the Bruce liveried car tonight. He is followed by Matthew Parry. Then in third we have got Van Thuylen. Unfortunately couldn't string together that clean lap he needed to take pole position. In P4, with a little more challenge than I think he usually sees in these Porsche Cup races, is Johan Leff. I think his worst start in any of these races in this series. In P5, we have got pit skill veteran, but Porsche Cup new runner, Sergi Sebastian. In P6 is Mormon. In P7 we have got the pink and green car of Nielsen. And in P8 is McCarthy. Where McCarthy is von Liebenstein. His trademark teal and yellow. Just behind is Robert Weidbeck, our championship third place runner. In P11 is Young. And then in P12 we have got Tadeusz Rexy Sosinski. And in P13, running the very same livery as Thomas Young, which I'm sure will definitely get confusing during this race, is Horvath. In P14 is Balazs Feher in a blue Rexy. You don't see many blue dinosaurs, but here's one on the grid for you tonight. In P15 is Cabrera. In 16th is Schricker, and I'm going to have to speed up because we are getting towards the end of this formation lap. As who is that off in the background? Is Busso here in P17. I think it was Joe Wilson who we saw off the track running the Lufthansa livery. Maybe we should say taking flight. As Luke Trammer is in P19. In P20 we have got Matthias Peltzer, and our series sponsor Chris Wright is in P21. We've got Jansman in P22, followed by Vega and Simmers. Skorupa is in P25, followed by Van der Kraan and Herx. And we have Anshu, Michalak, Van Dijk. In what on earth is that livery? We'll see that later in the race. In P31 is Nitro, followed by Tro in P32. And in P33 we have got Santons, followed by Demore, Eatkins, Drenth. In P37 we have got Casey, Andonu, and finally in P39 is Wozencroft. And we're already underway, so long is this grid. As Reese Tatzel leads us down towards turn 1. And so far a little bit of contact in the background, but everyone seems to be facing in the right direction as we head around the first sector. John Mormon getting himself up into P5 as Van Thuylen tries to go around the outside of Matthew Parry. They are side by side as they come out of turn 4. And it is Matthew Parry under threat here as Johan Leff looks to the inside through the sweeping left-hander as they come down the hill. Parry will have the inside for the hairpin as Leff goes deep. Gives Parry the room, and there's a spin from Leff. It is a rare mistake from Leff, which sees the two of them off and onto the grass. Look like Leff just trying to pick up the throttle on the marbles. Well, actually makes contact with Parry. Parry manages to stay on the circuit. Perhaps just hit right into the centre of mass, which allowed him to hold it together. But our standings as they are at the moment. Reese Tatzel leads the way, followed by Jentel Van Thuylen and Matthew Parry in P3. Behind we have got yellow flags as Christian Fager takes a trip across the gravel. These Porsche Cup cars are not designed for rallycross. And I think that, actually I'm not quite sure which, I think it was an incident ahead which caused Fager to go flying. I'm not sure who that yellow car was, but not the prettiest of starts for them. As up at the front, it's still Reese Tatzel leading the way. Van Thuylen following him close. As behind these two, heading into the first corner, are Parry and Nielsen. Close as you like as they come through the first sector. We've got a few changes of position further down the field. They're side by side coming through the first sector. It's going to be the exit of turn 4, which will decide their order, as it looks like Van der Kraan holding that inside line. Will they get the drive? No, it is going to be Schricker who gets the move made on Van der Kraan, and Peltzer looking up the inside. So they come down through the sweeper, side by side, and Van der Kraan holding that inside line beautifully as they continue side by side. As Chris Wright sits in, waiting for the opportunity, praying for carnage ahead, I can only imagine. We can also see Luke Trammer move out to the inside as Chris Wright ends up having to take avoiding action and losing out considerably there, as behind them Sergei Sebastian, who is not sure what happened to Sergei at the start, but having a bit of a recovery drive. is the number 101 kart. So let's see if we can work out what happened to Sergey. I don't see his name on the incident tracker, so don't know. No answers for you there. Sergey Sebastian down in P21, but trying to move forward as Peltzer and Van der Kraan going side by side down the back straight. It is Peltzer who remains ahead as they go through the sausages of the chicane. As Busso has made his way, actually quite a few have made their way past Balázs Fejes. So what's happened to Balázs? Oh, Balázs getting themselves out onto the gravel, being careful not to rejoin into the way of anyone else. Good considerate driving there from Feje, but does mean he drops 3 positions down to P14. As Sam McCarthy is leading a train of cars through the first sector. As Rexy is on the hunt. So too is Sergey Sebastian, carving his way through the field. And with so many cars on grid, I'm going to be honest, I'm finding it hard to know where to look. There is so much going on this racetrack. I'm fearful that I'm just missing it all and switching over to it just a little too late. As Cabrera has just made it past Joe Wilson. They come up through the Schumacher-esses. And Young having an off-track excursion. Cabrera looking to the inside as they touch doors. And we're going to be side by side through the next couple of corners. And it's Thomas Young who's getting swamped at the moment. Everyone just passing him around the outside, and a horrible piece of track to have a poor exit. Completely mugged by 3 cars there. As they all navigate the chicane. There's John Moorman holding on to P5, has got a queue of cars lining up behind him. First chaser is Sam McCarthy, followed by Tadeusz Szynski, Robert Weibeck and Horvath. And it really is this whole field just splitting into a few little trains here. As we've got one led by Moorman here, and just behind them is Cabrera leading another train of Wilson, Feje, Young, Schricker, Peltzer and Schricker now side by side. It is all happening in this race. And yeah, the Porsche Cup's really showing you can race around this circuit in a slightly narrower car. GT3s have a little bit of a hard time of it, but these Porsche Cups well suited to racing around this circuit. As both Peltzer and Schricker taking to the gravel, and looks like Schricker's going to be under attack from Sergey Sebastian. Sebastian looks at the inside and makes the move before they come into the sweeping right-hander, which means Sebastian's going to have the perfect run down through the long back straights. And all this time, the two at the front have been battling away. Van Thuylen now closer than he's been in a while. Rhys Tattersall under some real pressure in this race tonight. And Van Thuylen seemingly operating a lot quicker when he doesn't have to worry that as much about track limits. And it's good to see Rhys Tattersall being put under some pressure in these Porsche Cup races. We have seen some good battles between himself and left through the season. But a sustained attack being carried out here by Van Thalen. As down in P11, Cabrera still under humongous amounts of pressure, playing the role of the Pied Piper, it would seem, with a train of 10 cars all within a second of each other behind him, as Sergei Sebastian is trying to cut his way through this traffic behind. As they all try to get themselves a decent sight line for the next corner. You see that line of cars coming off the top of the Schumacher S just split apart. So everyone trying to find that little opportunity to make a move. And it is Christian Feger who's up the inside of Peltzer as they come down towards the chicane. Oh, a little bit of a bump there on the straight, but they're going to be side by side heading into the chicane. And Peltzer absolutely throwing it into there. I am amazed that they didn't make contact, but Peltzer absolutely on the limit. And holding on to P16. Against all probability and probably better judgment as well. But Tom Young in P14 amongst this pack, all up behind Cabrera. And this really is a battle of just making sure you're the car that doesn't get slowed down too much, doesn't have to brake too much for the car in front of them, as everyone is so tightly packed together in this little squabble of cars. Looking behind, I think that is Feger making another look up the inside of Peltzer. Still nothing doing, and it's Sergei Sebastian who's right under that wing of Christian Feger. They're looking out to the inside, trying to find a way through, but all the while Sergei Sebastian on the attack. Going to be looking to get that better exit. As they descend the hill down towards the chicane, it's Feger in the slipstream, looks out, surely not close enough. Yeah, that one was was never on, was it? And Feger, okay. Whew. Somehow Feger just managed to get themselves stopped off of the racing line and avoiding what could have been absolute carnage. As Wilson making their way past Cabrera, and it is also Feger looking to the outside of Cabrera as they all come through the first sector. Who can position their car better in this four-way fight? And it's Cabrera who's just getting swamped at the moment as Stricker looks to the inside, Young looking to the outside and going to be looking to get the better run as they both come quite considerably off track. It's going to open the door to Sebastian behind as Sebastian makes up another position up into P15 in this race. And it's behind all the list, Johan Leff with that early race incident looking to climb their way back up the order. Slightly caught up behind Christian Feger, and this race will not be doing any favours to their championship hopes. Although, as I say that, actually we worked out last round. We have already crowned our winner of the Porsche Cup Series. As Reese Tattersall is currently mathematically untouchable. As Benjamin Simmers actually found himself a little bit of clean air ahead, but was involved in that big pack behind Cabrera. Is now Sergei Sebastian, the next one in the hot seat to try and get past Cabrera, but under pressure from Roland Schricker as well. And Schricker actually with the inside line looks like he's going to try and take that position away from Sebastian. They're side by side heading down towards the first corner, as we've got yellow flags out for Tadeusz Szynski up ahead. Schricker holding that inside line. Both have gone deep. Oh, and Schricker just getting a little bit of a slide there. And we'll see if we can work out what happened to Tadeusz. They come down into the first corner. Oh, just carrying a little bit too much speed, maybe a little too eager on the throttle off. Oh, I think just caught, I think that was Horvath by surprise. Applying the throttle, moving a little bit over the front. And Szynski down in P13 now. As Busso finds himself caught up behind Horvath as they ascend the Schumacher S. Been some real intense battling throughout this race, but Busso and Horvath finding themselves on a little bit of secluded track, not many drivers around them, as they hop over the sausage curbs of the chicane. Sergei Sebastian and Tadeusz Szynski going side by side through the chicane as we see others bouncing over the sausage curbs behind as well. But on the exit, it looks like Sebastian has got the better run. But Szynski's not going to give this one up, sitting in the slipstream. I think Sebastian maybe done enough to hold on to this position for now. So Sebastian up into P13. As we also have a battle brewing for, not for P16, but also this battle does reach all the way up to P13 as well. These drivers are packed all so closely together, as Matthias Peltzer and Simmers were side by side. As Peltzer gets that move made. And at the front of this train sits Balázs Fehér in the aptly named Blue Monster teamed car. And you can just see Sergei Sebastian catching on to the back of this fight. Just trying to eye up an opportunity to move alongside. As all three of these drivers running very different lines through the final corner. Neither with a real advantage in pace as they exit the final corner. Cabrera looking to the inside of Fehér, not quite close enough, but Fehér gives him the space. Looks to optimise the exit. They're running side by side through the first sector And this is such a sketchy bit of track to be running side by side through. It really is all about keeping that traction, keeping that minimum speed up. And Fayet does the best job of the lot of them. Sergi Sebastian gains the position from Cabrera, who just got a little bit caught out there trying to run the long way around the outside. And Sebastian up into P12 in this race. And leads this pack of Cabrera, Szynski, Young and Schricker behind. Sebastian looks to the inside on the Schumacher S. Not really close enough to be going for a position there, but just trying to unsettle Fay here ahead, showing him he's there, showing his intention. Sebastian using all the track to try and optimize this exit on the long run down towards the chicane. And as they exit the final corner, it remains Balázs Feher ahead of Sergi Sebastian for P11 in this race. Sergi Sebastian looking up the inside, has got himself alongside that blue car of Feher and ahead into turn 2. Very important move to actually get the car fully ahead by turn 2. Now means Sebastian can concentrate on hitting those apexes. Doesn't need to worry about a car alongside compromising his lines. And that is Sergi Sebastian up into P11. And can now concentrate on trying to close up that gap to Joe Wilson ahead. As behind, the battle does continue for P13. These drivers seemingly not wanting to be separated from each other whatsoever, as Schricker appears glued to the back of Szynski. Whoa, that is Roland Schricker off the track at the top of the S. And what happened there? So we've got Roland Schricker up behind today. Szynski gets a little out of sorts on the curb, and I think Luke Tranmer, just in trying to react to that incident from Schricker, has an incident all of his own, and that has split up the pack behind quite considerably. Does mean now Matthias Peltzer with no cars ahead of him, and Luke Tranmer did well to rejoin this battle as Schricker has dropped down to P21. Luke Tranmer still running in P18, must not have collided with the wall as we saw Schricker do, and to continue to apply pressure to Simmers ahead. As Szynski and Young run through the first sector, looking to optimise that exit out of turn 4. Roland Schricker, I think, with yellow flags being waved for him. Looks to be back on track now though, so not too much harm done, although considerable harm done to the front of his car by the looks of things. And I think Cabrera may have been looking in his mirrors for more of this race than he's actually been looking at the racetrack ahead of him. So much has the pressure been on the back of him. I'm not sure there's been a single second of this race where Herrera hasn't had a car within the second behind him. So doing well to soak up this pressure and continue to just drive his own laps, drive his own times, and holding on to P13 for now. So needing to navigate a little bit of back marker traffic. As Young moves out of the slipstream of Szynski as they head down towards the first corner. Young with the inside line, holds it tight, gets on the throttle early, and is he going to be fully ahead as they come into turn 2? Gets a little bit of a slide as they come through the second corner. Young tries to carry the speed around the outside and looks like he's got his car enough ahead to take the inside line out of turn 4, and this should be position gained for Tom Young up into P14 ahead of Tadej Szynski. That was good racing, not risking too much on any one corner and just allowing the flow of that first sector to eventually give him that position. As Jens Nielsen continues to hold on to the back of Matthew Parry in this fight for the final podium position. As we've got yellow flags out for Tadej Szynski, who's rejoined the racing surface behind that back marker. Oh, you can just see the snap of the car as we come over the crest of the hill, and that is a bumpy off-track section, and Tadej Szynski does well to get it back onto the racing surface without getting in the way of too many other cars. Jens Nielsen continuing chase Matthew Parry, throwing in all the apex speed he can get with just 3.5 minutes remaining in this race. It's now or never time for Jens Nielsen to try and get up and claim that final podium position. It's been a well-controlled race from Parry so far. Missed out a little bit in the first lap, getting a little bit swamped, but has held his own and was driving around flexibly on his own for a lot of the race, but now soaking up some pressure from Nielsen, who's been steadily chipping away at that gap and now sits 0.4 seconds behind. As Sergei Sebastian makes his way up past Joe Wilson, taking P10 on his way. And in the end, actually, quite a straightforward pass there for Sebastian. And now running in P10. He's got an 8.5 second gap to Horvath ahead, so I suspect that may be the final overtake of the race for Sergei Sebastian, but a good recovery nonetheless. Qualified well and lost a number of positions off the start. We still don't know how, so we'll have to ask him after the race. Still a few battles to be decided in what will be the penultimate lap of this race. Tom Young trying to find a way by Cabrera. As Van Thuylen just lost over a second to Tattersall. Was running close. So what's happened? Oh, just a little bit of a slide there from Van Thuylen, and that is what caused that gap to extend out. In the end, something quite innocuous, but may have cost Van Thuylen that opportunity to go on the attack in the final lap of this race. As Thomas Young has been charging forward considerably during this race. So it started in P10 and after an early race incident has been having to reclaim position, so maybe with a little bit of a pace advantage in comparison to the drivers ahead of him. Now sits P14 with Jose Cabrera in his sights, and they're both catching on to Fay here, but Young getting a huge snap oversteer after hitting the curb, and that has dropped him back a little bit from Cabrera. As Endengry has made his way up and past Perks for P25. I think I may have just missed the end of the overtake, as we've got battling up and down this grid, which is good to see. That is the beauty of these large grid races sometimes, when you get battling all over. It's not just the fast drivers up the front. Absolutely everyone can enjoy a battle in these Porsche Cup races. As Tom Young still trying to find a way past Cabrera, has been stuck in this position for a good number of laps. As we turn our attention back towards the front of this race, it is Rhys Tattersall who has led from lights to flag as he rounds the final corner of this Nürburgring GP Circuit and comes across the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. Our race winners tonight is Rhys Tattersall. He will be followed home by Jentel Van Thuylen. And in third place, he had to fight hard to hold on to it. It was a science-like race for Matthew Parry to hold on to that final podium position, followed by Jens Nielsen and Joran Moorman. In P6 was Sam McCarthy. He was followed by Robert Weibeck, Busso and Horvath. Recovering back to P10 was Sergi Sebastian. Joe Wilson flies it home in P11. Balazs Fahir in P12. Jose Cabrera in P13 with Thomas Young in P14. In P15 was Matthias Peltzer, followed by Luke Tranmer, Samuel von Liebenstein and Tadeusz Szynski. Johan Leff, after that early race incident, finished P19, followed by Christian Fager and Benjamin Simmers. In P22 was our series sponsor Chris SimQuips Wright. He was followed by Pavel Skorupa. In P23 was Andong Yu. And in P24 was George Perks, with Matthias Santons in P25. Porsche Cup regular and super clean driver Nitro was in P26, followed by Dave Tro, Gregor Michalak and Loic Anshu. Cohen Jansman was in P30, followed by Patrick van der Kraan, Roland Stricker P32, and Florent de Moor in the gravel in P33. And to round out the rest of our order, we have got Drent, Van Dijk, Rosencroft and Casey with the unfortunate disqualification for pit lane infractions. Just remains me to say congratulations to all of our finishers tonight. It was a bit of a grueling race here at the Nürburgring. And a big congratulations to our podium sitters of Rhys Tattersall, Jensel van der Thuylen and Matthew Parry. I have been your host, Roy Waller. And next week, the Pitskill.io Porsche Cup, sponsored by SimQuips, will be heading to Australia to take on the Mount Panorama circuit at Bathurst. So please do tune in for that and do like and subscribe in order to get notified of when that race will go live. And don't go anywhere, because we will be bringing you the race highlights, followed very shortly by the championship standings. Good night.